Mr. Keigan Parker, hello, how are you, sir?
Nice to see you.
Ah, right. Let's go and get a coffee. Right, Keigan, we're going in at Costa Coffee. Come on, let's go and get a coffee. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Tonight, my guest is Keigan Parker. Hi, Keigan. How you doing?
Yeah, Lee, good to see you again. Generally, when I come down, the results are not bad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if we've been beat. I think we've been beat once. One game, two Blackburn away, and remember we got beat against Portsmouth.
Yeah.
I think it was 1-0.
Oh, yeah.
Last season, I was at that game as well.
Is that when Rose got sent off?
Yeah, so generally speaking, I'm not saying I'm a good luck charm, but I've never been to a 3 or 4-1 defeat.
Well, you were telling me before we started that you were confident tonight.
I was. That's maybe because every time I come down, I always put a wee sneaky bet on for a bit of interest. That, in my head, if it comes in, then it covers my couple of days down here. If it doesn't, I'm £20 or £30 out of pocket. So yeah, I think that's more of the positive look at that.
Well, I hope they win for you tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's going to be a good game. Anyway, just talking about you and your career, in the early days, when did you first start getting into football? About what age? And did you play for your school team, or did you start in like junior teams?
I was quite late into football because I think some kids are like 8 or 9. I didn't start getting into football till like maybe 11, 12 years old. And my dad actually started helping the school team. We used to play in like the Newcastle colours, Blackpool Primary, and it was, I still picture the strips. Right. And I think it was one of them, they had the strips for about 30 years. So the strips for like from the 60s, you know, no badge, no nothing. It was just black and white with a. Remember the old silky pants you used to get? They're more acquired to be a boxer in the 1950s, and not one of the socks with the same length. But my dad, he started helping the school team. That's when I started getting into it more, and my dad used to start taking me training over it's called where we lives, the Rabbie Hill, and it's all houses now, but it was literally about 100 yards from my dad's flat was. He used to take me over there for extra training and stuff. And that's when I started getting more serious into it, maybe 12, 13. I started playing with a few teams and actually got some awards from it then for most improved player.
Right.
And,
you always a striker?
I was a striker, yeah, I was always been a striker. I played with a team called Muriston. That's when I started really getting a bit better. And in fact, when I first went into Muriston, now they're based in Livingston. They're quite a well-known team about there. I was on the bench, and that's when I got into the team and started winning up some awards for being most improved players. So the reason I remember the awards is I was in my bedroom at my dad's, and I was in last week cleaning a few things, and I forgot I even had them.
Oh wow!
So some of these are from 1998, 1997. Yeah.
So in 1998, signed for St Johnstone.
Yeah.
Played 101 appearances.
Yeah.
You scored 20 goals.
Yeah.
How did they pick you up? How did St Johnstone pick you up?
Well, it was that would have been when I was about 15. I was playing with a team called Hutchison Vale, and that's where Graham Souness came from. Oh. Graham Souness and players like Alan McGregor, the goalkeeper. And they're probably arguably the biggest feeder club in Scotland. They've mostly a Hibs feeder club. Yeah. And I went in there for a few months, and I actually trained with Hibs as well, and I trained my mother well. But St Johnstone, a guy called Graham Bryce, an old guy, his son was actually a big, well, I don't know if he still is, he was a big news reporter for the News of the World in Scotland, the sports bit.
Right, okay.
And he put me in there, and basically Paul Sturrock was the manager, who's he won the UEFA Cup with Dundee United and stuff. Right. He was manager at Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday as well.
So what league was that in?
That was in the first. They were in the Premier League in Scotland. First division in Scotland at the time when I went in. He basically said, you know, you've got great potential, and if you progress well here, you'll be in the first team, and within a year and a half. And funny enough, I signed and he buggered off to Dundee United because they were they are a bigger club.
Yeah, sure.
And basically a guy called Sandy Clark came in, and funny enough, he was from the same town I was from, Bathgate. Right. Sandy Clark played with Hearts and West Ham. I think he played with like Frank McAvenny at West Ham. He came in and I used to travel up to training with him, and I used to get a lot of stick off the boys because I was a YTS, and because I was travelling with the manager, I used to get away early from my jobs. and basically, after about the first season as a YTS, I was actually on the bench when we finished third behind Celtic and Rangers. We got to Europe and played Monaco, and I wasn't on the bench for that trip, but I was over there in Monaco. They had Henry, Trezeguet, Barthez.
Wow.
Yeah, this is about 1999. So that's before Henry went to. Remember, he went to Juventus first.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Then to Arsenal.
Yeah, so and had a few other players, but ridiculous. Yeah.
Wow. What was the score there then?
They beat us 3-0 over there, and it was. I could have been on the bench for the home leg, but I was away with Scotland under 17s.
Ah, yes, you did have it.
And it was. I think it was 3-3 the home leg. Yeah, but what a team they had. Yeah, and that was some experience over in Monaco.
Wow.
There was 4,500 St Johnstone fans there.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an incredible start
So
to
that
your
was,
career. So how did the move to Blackpool came about? You moved to Blackpool you were 6 years with St Johnstone.
Yeah.
2004, you moved to Blackpool.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, when I was at St Johnstone, I broke through when I was early. I broke through, and there was a lot of money in the Scottish game then, in terms of young kids, and I got a really good contract. And the last kind of year and a half, I never really hit the heights I was hitting before. I broke my foot playing against Celtic, and that held me back a bit. And then it was one of them. I was there a while. I was looking to get into the English game. And I said to you earlier on, Swansea, they were keen to sign me. I actually met a guy, Brian Flynn, down at Gretna with my agent at the time. It was Blair Morgan. He was Martin O'Neill's agent. Remember the old Celtic manager?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Quite a lot of... And
Leicester.
Trevor Stephen played with England and Everton.
Yeah.
They were my agents. I went down to meet them, but it never ended up happening. So I seen out the last year my contract in St Johnstone. We got relegated to the first division. Scored a few goals, and Blackpool was the main team who came in for me. I was Colin Hendry's first signing in 2004. That would have been, yeah.
Well, he's a popular manager with Blackpool.
Still remember the first training day at over in Lytham.
Right.
You know the cricket pitches.
Yeah.
Trained there.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah. And fun enough, my first training session with Fleetwood Town was at the same pitch. Fast forward how many other years I played with them.
Well, you played for Fleetwood in 2011.
2011.
You were on loan to Fleetwood.
Mickey Mellon.
Yeah,
Mickey Mellon
Mickey
signed me, and I went in there on loan from Mansfield. And I lived in a hotel because my flat was rented out, called the Filed Backpackers, and the hotel I was telling you about that I'm staying tonight is across the road.
All right.
And I wish I was in the hotel I was in last time.
Happy memories. Well, you came to Blackpool, and wow, what a good move, would you say? Was it a good move at the time?
Yeah, it was. At the start, it was difficult. Mainly because of the way the Oystons were running the club. Just stupid things like you would get promised a hotel and for the first 3 months, and you would get promised expenses, because there was like a thing called relocation money, and you were chasing them up, and I was staying in this hotel with like 15, 16-year-olds, you know,
right.
Because we were trying to cut costs, and my agent had to basically say to him, listen, if this isn't sorted out, he's going back to Scotland.
Yeah, oh God.
So it was like it was just scrimping and scraping, you know.
They're terrible.
In a way, I would like to have been at the club at this time, you know, because I think it's running a lot better, you know.
Yeah,
you can tell just going back for a game, it's like a lot more professional.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of people, you know, are not happy at the moment with the way that Simon Saville's running it, but compared to the Oystons, you know, oh my God, they were.
Just stuff like the £90 a week through the summer and all that, do you know what I mean?
Were they on that then, was that?
Aye. Every player was on. So basically, as soon as the season finished, you were on for 6 or 7 weeks, you basically got £90 a week, yeah?
Right.
Aye.
Well, you started under Colin Hendry, who obviously didn't last all that long. He didn't do very well.
Yeah.
After Colin Hendry,
Simon
Grayson came in then.
So, I think off memory, Colin Hendry was in it for maybe 4 months.
Yeah.
I don't think it was even till like Christmas time.
No,
I think it was like,
He was.
But Simon Grayson was still a player, but he got the job as a player manager, and we started winning some games.
Yeah, you did.
I don't think we set the heather on fire, you know, compared to maybe a year and a half later.
Yes.
But I think it was an improvement.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. Did you all kind of like Simon Grayson? Did the players like him? Because he was a player, wasn't he?
It was quite good training, you know. What I liked about Simon Grayson's training, you always knew what you were. It was quite repetitive, but it was good because in your mind as a player.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday was always a good hard session.
Yeah.
And like would even go to like the spinning up in the De Vere. So it was a double session. You get hammered on a Tuesday, but you get the Wednesday off. But then you could go back to Scotland and you know, enjoy some family time.
Yeah.
Barring a bad result, you know, a bad result on a Saturday, you were in on a Sunday, you know.
Right.
And you maybe wouldn't get a Wednesday off, So aye.
No. Well, you played with some good players at that time. Obviously, you and Andy Morell formed a partnership, which was to prove to be incredible, really. Did you?
That was a bit later on. When I first came in, with John Murphy was.
Oh, John Murphy, of course.
And Scott Taylor.
Scott Taylor.
We still had some good strikers, and who else? Keith Southern. Mark Joseph.
Oh, blimey.
I remember we had big. Is it Pogler? Remember the big goalkeeper? We had Pogler Cogley or something.
Oh yeah, Pogler Combe.
He was quite. He was on loan for Oldham, I think.
Yeah.
And
so this season, well, who were you sort of your kind of friends at Blackpool? Who were the players that you kind of got on with best at that time?
I used to go and play snooker with Wes Houlihan.
Oh.
Yeah, Robbie Williams, he was a good lad as well. He actually was at Huddersfield when I went there. He was, because he came on loan and was still there, so I was quite pal with him,
So, well, Wes Houlihan was something really special, wasn't he?
Wes was good,
Was he as good in training as he was?
You could be, but sometimes, I remember a few times we went out and he'd be still drunk in training and he was still the best player. It was just his natural ability, and he had that low centre of gravity, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously he went on to have a fantastic career, you know.
He did.
At Norwich. I knew he could do well at someday, but I think he matured so much, you know, from what I heard, you know, and I think that can give you that, you know, when you get moved to the bigger club, you can either go one way or the other. He went the big way, and now, I mean, he's an Norwich legend with, I don't know, maybe 25 Irish caps, you know.
Yeah, no, he did go on.
He was one of them, I think, because he was at my hometown club, Livingston, when we signed him. And I know people who were there who was saying he wasn't doing it and this and that, and I think he toed the line and realised that he had the potential, and when he got to the bigger club, that kind of took him to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about the promotion season. By Christmas time, we weren't doing very well.
We were nowhere near the playoffs at Christmas time. In fact, that season
at the bottom of the league, weren't we?
In fact, that season I actually started 28 games, and I got 16, 17 goals.
Right.
So I wasn't a starter until the last 20 games of the season. I maybe started like 85% of them, you know.
Right.
Whereas before that I was kind of on and off the bench, because the team wasn't doing well. It was an unsettled team.
It was an unsettled team.
Obviously, we won 10 in a row, didn't we?
We did, the perfect 10, which we'll talk about. But Jane, who at that time followed every game, she went to home and away every single game. She always says that Carlisle away was the turning point, where she suddenly saw that the team was starting to gel. Didn't get the win, but she could see that there was. Was it just the influx of players they brought in then, do you think, at that time that turned things around, or was there something Simon Grayson said to everybody in the dressing room?
No.
She said it was the second half at Carlisle.
I can remember the game, I think, I can't remember off my top of my head. Someone's telling me it was 1-1 that game though. It was definitely 1-1 or 2-1 we got beat, but there was a change, and then
half time.
After that I think we went on a right good run, you know, of becoming more difficult to beat. I think before that we were a bit spineless, you know. If we went 1-0 down, you know.
What changed it? Yeah.
I don't know. I think we did. I think Morell and that came in about then, didn't he?
Yeah.
If you remember.
Andy Morell came.
I think Morell came in about January time, or maybe the month before on loan, and then we started getting a bit of belief, you know.
He was a great signing, and the pair of you were, you know, Keigan and Morell.
Yeah.
In my mind, anyway, is one of the best partnerships we have.
But we had some good backups as well. We had Scott Vernon as well, and we had Big Ben.
Yes.
Who went on to play in the Premier League, you know.
Indeed, he did.
That was maybe the thing. We had people pushing everybody else, you know, in positions, and somebody wasn't doing it, because that's the thing in football, we can come too complacent, you know, if you're not getting you're not getting any competition, you know. Sometimes
not pushing you.
It's good to have that uncertainty with somebody else breathing down your neck.
So when did the team start to think they had a bit of a chance of promotion? Did you start to feel, because obviously, well, they brought Joe Hart in, the goalkeeper.
I remember, I don't know if you remember, a game away at Cheltenham. I think we won 3-0. Do you remember that? I think it was about like February time. And I remember we started getting a bit of momentum after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but I think when we started tightening up at the back, you know, we felt we had a...
I mean, that is, you know, that's the only time Blackpool's ever done a perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a video about it and everything.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
We started that a few games before. There's a good chance we'd have caught Forest, or I think it was Bristol City in front of us.
Right.
You know, I think they end up, one of them finished just a couple of points ahead of us, you know. We'd have caught them if we'd a couple of games, and you know. Right. And then it was Forest and Yeovil in the other semi, remember?
It was, yes, it was, yeah.
And it was us in Oldham.
Yes, it was indeed.
And the away game at Oldham was...
Before we get to that, I've just got to talk about, obviously, the Swansea game.
Yeah.
You know, you said Swansea were looking at you, but many people who went to that game would probably say that's probably Blackpool's best ever performance.
Yeah.
It was just something special. What happened on that day? Because Swansea was always a hard place to go. They were up near the top, weren't they, as well, at that time?
Yeah, they were spending a bit of money, and in fact Graham Jones was the assistant manager at Swansea, and Roberto Martinez is now the Portugal manager in that game.
Bloody hell.
I don't know if you knew that.
Wow, no, I didn't.
So he tried to sign me before then, so I knew they were looking at me. Graham Jones is basically, he's Newcastle, and I'm like a coach now, and Roberto Martinez is now the Belgium manager.
Yeah. So
that's who we were up against in that day. We had Joe Hart and goals, so they were keen to sign me, and after that they tried to sign me as well. They were actually phoning me when I was in the last couple of months of my contract.
Wow.
I remember being in my bedroom in Blackpool on Forest Gate, and Roberto Martinez, Keigan, you know, keep cool, we're going to try and sign you, and then I got a bad groin injury. Yeah.
I mean, injuries always come at the wrong time.
And then Oyston was wanting silly money.
We got to playoff semi-finals. Do you remember much about playing Oldham?
I remember that very, very brightly. The reason being, I had a girlfriend that was going steady with a dancer from London. She was in the West End, from Wales, and she got the train down to watch a game. And I missed I think I had 6 chances in that game. I was ripping them apart. The highlights are still on YouTube. It's a good highlight reel, 10 minutes. And that Keigan, I nutmegged him near the start and should have scored. A toe poked it over the bar. I remember it was really, really wet.
Oh, right, okay.
Really, really wet. And I always remember I had these boots that I couldn't stop scoring in, these white Umbros. They were only like 30 quid Umbros, believe it or not. Because I wasn't one of them who needed the fancy boots or that. If I had a pair, I would run them into the ground, because I hated breaking in new boots, because it would hurt my feet. So these boots actually split, and you know Steve Thompson, he actually took them to a cobbler's and got them patched up because he didn't want me losing my touch. But I wore them that day, and they were mouldies, and I was falling about, but I still ripped them. I would rip them apart at the back.
Yeah. God,
if I'd scored even 1 or 2, it maybe been one of my best performances in my career. But I never scored. But in the second leg, I scored that goal near the end, remember?
Yes.
When I just stayed on side and curled it in the... And if you watch it against Simon Gillett, the guy who was on loan, he fell in the net.
Yes.
He fell back in the net.
Yeah.
And I was on a yellow, and when you see it on YouTube, I go to take my top off, and I remember I was on a yellow, and I'd go like that, and then Keigan was shouting something, and I went like that to him, as in, be quiet. Yeah.
Well, that would have been a disaster, wouldn't it, if you'd got a yellow there for celebrating. But I mean, I was in that North Stand. Obviously, the goals come in the North Stand, you know, and Andy Morel as well scoring, and it was just, I don't know what it was like playing on that day, because we still only had, like, you know, the 3 stands and the goal stand.
Oh, it was bouncing though.
But wasn't it loud?
That was bouncing.
It was incredible, wasn't it?
I reckon there was maybe 8,000 in there that day, because with the 3 stands it hold about 9, didn't it, roughly?
Yeah, it was absolutely full.
But was that? It was bouncing. Like, I still remember it. It was quite a nice day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah.
It was one of my favourite games ever.
Pretty sure Keith Severn scored the first, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did.
Aye.
Yeovil Town in the final. What was the feeling before the game? Were you all confident? Did you? I mean, obviously it was better than playing Forest.
Yeah.
Did you think you'd have Yeovil?
It was one of them that I think we were riding on a crest of a wave, that because we were playing that well, you know, but I think we gave them the respect they were due, and the fact that they beat Forest pretty comfortable, you know.
Yeah.
And we were going into the game quite a strong favourite as well, you know.
Yeah.
So it was one of them, you know, don't count your chickens till they're hatched, but, you know, we're confident.
Yeah.
And I think if you remember the game, we had quite a few chances. We were kind of really on top of them, and then I think that goal maybe came after half an hour or something, if I'm right. Robbie Williams,
Free kick.
30,
It was
minutes,
it was getting close to half time, wasn't it?
And it was one of them where I was getting a wee bit edgy myself. I was thinking, you know, we're on top here, and they weren't really causing us much trouble. I think they had Marcus Stewart up front, and
yeah, they did.
They had, in fact, the boy Gareth Barry was playing for Yeovil, and he's now the assistant manager with England.
Wow.
Under Tuchel. So Tuchel had him at Chelsea.
Right.
He played with Fleetwood, remember him? Anthony Barry. He's obviously done his coaching wise, but he's the number 2 at England now. Wow. So that's 3 footballers you spoke about there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But aye. But once we scored the first, I felt a relief, you know. I thought we would, but again, you never know, you know. But once I scored the second, I thought,
Well, we came out second half, and you scored pretty early on in the second half. I mean, Dan and I were behind the goal.
Yeah.
It was into the Blackpool fans.
I think it was about 65, 66 minutes, wasn't it?
But about 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
It was a good time to score.
Yeah.
And well, people will say it's one of the greatest goals at Wembley of all time, but it really was a fantastic goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of them.
We saw it coming. It kind of curled around the keeper. You know, we could see it because we were just slightly to the left of goal, so we could see it coming around the keeper. He just couldn't get to it right.
It's one of them. I meant to maybe put a wee bit more on it than that, but I didn't mean to put it. I put it wide, that it went right over. I think the goalies misjudged it and jumped a bit early, and it's went over him.
Yeah.
The amount of thought that said to me, like, oh, you should have got that and that. But when you see it again, it goes away out, you know.
Yeah, it goes out and it curls in.
And he was a big goalie.
He was a big goalie.
Mildenhall, wasn't it?
Well, it was a magical moment, and it just, well. Do you remember the parade and everything?
I do. It's strange because it's that kind of a once in a lifetime type of thing. I remember quite a lot of it.
Right. Yeah.
I remember I was driving an old banger at the time. I know. There's a funny story I'll tell you about.
Go on then.
So do you know? Remember we played Swansea at home.
Yeah.
Played Swansea at home. I think we beat them 1-0. Maybe about couple of months before we beat them in the game down there. And I was driving the big banger, and we won. They had a boy, remember that Ick Ripprin, one of the boys at the back. He played with West Ham.
What's he called?
Ick Ripprin or something.
Oh.
The boy at the back.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember doing it, but basically he's trying to say I nearly ran him down, because you used to drive down by the tunnel, you know, under where the buses was,
yes.
The car park.
Right.
So we were going down the tunnel at the Liberty when we beat them 5-3, and that's what motivated me about that game. He came up behind me and slapped me in the back of the head.
Oh.
I went, you nearly ran me down, pardon my French. I went, what? I never even seen you. So anyway, in my head I was like, I'm going to rip him apart today. And obviously I went on to do that, along with Andy Morell.
Perfect.
And I had that. I bought it at Polton car auctions for like 300 quid.
Right. You lived the high life, didn't you? Of course, at Blackpool, isn't it?
Yeah. That was thanks to the Oystons.
Yeah. So Blackpool get promoted into the Championship. It's the first time we've been out of the bottom 2 divisions for 30 years. We've been down. We got relegated in 1976. You got us back in 2006 for 30 years. So it was a massive moment for Blackpool.
I was going into the last year of my contract, and I was lying on a sun lounger. That's a true story. Giving you exclusives here.
Right, go on.
I was lying on my sun lounger. I think I was a couple of days into a week's break in Marbella, and Trevor Stephen phoned me, my agent. Keigan, are you able to come back in the next few days if things get sorted? I went, why? Colin Calderwood, the Nottingham Forest manager, trying to sign you. he's negotiating and now and they were in League One because they stayed down, obviously. And they had Tyson and up front. I was like, well, yes, if the money's right, it's a massive club. They were getting like 19,000 in League One.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, obviously, if the deal's right, and it turns out they couldn't agree a deal, but they tried to give that Grant Holt plus like 300,000 for me in a swap deal. He went on to play with Blackpool and Norwich. Remember, he went on to play with Norwich. He played in the Premier League after that for Norwich.
Wow.
Like, loads of games. Basically, I think he kicked on in his career after that, but at that point he wasn't doing that great.
So why did this move not come about?
Because Oysons were wanting too much money. Obviously, I'd just scored at Wembley and they wanted a lot of money.
They wanted a lot of money for you, but they didn't seem to want to pay you a lot of money. What happened with the contract then?
Well, basically, I got told going into my last year they would offer me a much better deal,
Yeah.
And basically they offered me an extra like £500 a week more than I was on,
Right.
And I wasn't even one of the top earners then, so I wasn't going to give up. At that time I was flying high and I had really high belief in myself, And like I touched on earlier, I never even started a lot of games that season, so I would just want to kick on and do it in the Championship,
Is there any regrets you have not maybe making that move to Forest? Do you think it different?
I think looking back at it, I mean, I've thought about it. I just don't think I was committed, It's wasn't committed enough, I reached a certain point and I maybe, I wasn't committed to improving, and maybe football at that point, if I could do it all again, I would look different at it,
Yeah.
Do it different. At times, football maybe wasn't my number one thing, going out and having a good time and living life probably was, whereas I think, especially nowadays and the way football is, even back then, football should be way the main priority, and you should be looking to improve and not just be happy where you were,
Yeah.
I mean, I did have some personal stuff going on. We sadly lost my mum and stuff, but that's not an excuse, but looking back in it, I wish I could have been more focused on it, Because
But you were only young, weren't you? How old were you when you were playing for Blackpool?
I was about 26. I left when I was 27. I had to go to Huddersfield,
Yeah.
So I wish I'd been more committed, because now not playing, I do miss it, and I do. It's hard. It's easy to say like just you've done well and don't beat your spit. It's hard. Your mind does. When you see other players doing it and stuff and getting caps for Scotland, then you think they weren't that much better than me, but what they were more committed and they were always trying to improve all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where I went amiss. Looking back, I wish I could do it all again. But
yeah, but you can't.
But there was some great times in there.
You can't look back.
Yeah.
You actually got one cap for Scotland, didn't you, under 21s?
Yeah, under 21. I still remember that. We went to Poland, played Poland away. Right. Yeah, that was good. But I got quite a few caps with under 17s. Yeah, I think I got maybe 8 or 9 for the under 17s.
Who was the best in training?
I don't know if I'd say I was the best trainer. I could be on fire. A bit like my football, actually. I could be quite streaky. I could be the best, and then I could be not very good. Consistent maybe wasn't my best thing, but who was the best trainer? That's a good question.
Who was the worst then?
Sean Parker was a good trainer.
Sean Parker.
He was good. He was quite hard to get by. Big.
Yeah.
Marcus Bean could have been the worst. I hope he sees this as well.
Who was the comedian at the time in there? Who was the funniest in the training ground?
No. I was always mucking about, as you can imagine. Ian Evatt was. It was quite a good group though. It was quite focused, Yeah. Wasn't too much carry on. John Burridge came in a few times. That was an experience. Unannounced, come in to train, walking about the changing room.
Oh,
giving a few of the YTS some scary moments.
He was a character, wasn't he, John Burridge? He used to sleep with the football, John Burridge. He used to sleep with his football, yeah.
The worst dress sense, big Casper Gorks, he had some bad clubber. And Klaus Jorgensen.
Klaus Jorgensen, yeah.
He had some.
Who was in charge of the music in the dressing room? That's what that was.
Who was in charge of the music? We're going back quite a bit here.
Yeah.
This is. I think it was quite a mutual thing actually. I think we had like a disc, made up for us all.
Oh, okay.
We did have one of the big boom boxes.
Yeah.
usually came on before the game.
Did you have any superstitions? Did you like pre?
I did actually.
Did you?
I always had to get a rub before a game on my hamstrings, and I always gave myself a cold rub before I went out and splashed water over my face.
Right. Did you have a pre-match meal, or did you not bother with it?
Aye. I was tend to be scrambled egg, toast and beans.
Right.
Was the pre-match, and I'd always have a Lucozade.
Right.
Yeah, and lots of water.
Final question: what are you up to at the moment? I know you're coaching. You've gone into coaching because you were going to come on a couple of weeks ago, and it now clashes, isn't it, Saturday? So, who's the team you're coaching now?
It's West Calder Juniors, so it's like juniors in Scotland isn't like youth. It's non-league basically.
Right. Okay.
So we're in a league where we play teams from Fife and kind of east of Scotland area, and it's going well. I've been in there 2 months. We've only lost a couple of games. I think we've won 7.
Right.
In fact, the first 4 games we were in, we scored like 16, 17 goals.
Right.
So yeah, it's been going well, and we got back to winning ways. Last weekend we beat one of the top teams in Dundee.
Right.
Who were probably the favourites to beat us. We beat them in the Scottish Cup. And we got a good win at the weekend there. So yeah, we're sitting second in the league with, obviously we've still got a good 20 games to go, you know, but 3 teams go up from that league. So yeah, it's going well.
Would you like to, get back into professional game as a coach? Is that?
To be honest, I've not really thought about it. I just like getting the structure, and I do miss the banter and the changing room and stuff. And they've got some good young players. So I like, they do tend to listen, and I do like giving them my experience.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm more of a motivator than a coach at the moment.
Yeah.
Give them my experience over, but yeah, I certainly wouldn't rule it out.
Right, we're going to get off to the game. Just to the people watching this, by the way, you can see we're both on coffees there.
Well, cheers to the Blackpool 3-0 victory.
So
I wish we could put something up now to show that this isn't recorded after the game. And they're like, you done that after the game. I'm telling you, 3-0.
3-0. Yeah, Keigan's got a 3-0 for Blackpool tonight. So we are having a coffee. You can. I will put a little QR code onto the screen in the bottom corner, and if you scan that with your phone, you can buy me a coffee if you enjoy this interview. Anyway, thank you very much, Keigan. We'll get off to the game.
Pleasure.